The following podcast is being brought to you by the Defy Life Podcast Network.
And I was like, yes, hi. I was so excited.
Oh, we said hi. Let me get hi again.
Okay, hi.
A guy get to a point and he asks you to marry him, he really wants to marry you.
Mm-hmm. He ready.
Like he really feels like, you know what, she's the one. She's the one.
You already getting the goods. You got to pay for it. Bring me the ring and get on one knee.
Okay.
Or two.
You need time to observe someone and really get a sense of how well do they treat you, how well do they handle adversity.
You're not the one because you don't have grit, the perseverance. You ain't really want me because you ready to give up. Because I said no. Nah, you shouldn't have asked. But since I said no, now it's your job to stay in the game and try to fight for it.
Boy on 5 Heartbeats, where you make the announcement you're going solo at the awards ceremony.
What up? What up? What up? And welcome to One Eye Shut. This is a podcast where we discuss many different topics from the perspective of 3 married couples. My name is Ladine Glymph. I'll be your host this evening along with my husband, J.R. Glymph. We are 1/3 of the One Eye Shut crew for the past 2 weeks, and this week we are doing something a little bit different, a little twist on our usual show where it's all 3 couples, and we are just doing, if you are a consistent listener, Keita and Thomas went first, and Al and Gina went second, and so now it is JR and I's turn to just really give you, I guess, get inside a little bit more of us and get a little more personal. I think we get a little bit too personal up on here, okay? But we're gonna basically answer the same questions that the other 2 couples answered in the last 2 weeks and get a little deeper into what's going on with us. You can find One Eye Shut on DefyLifePods.com. You can access us through GoDefyLife.com or any of your popular podcast platforms. Did I miss anything?
No. Anywhere out there you can find us for free 99. Go find us.
So, is there anything good you got to say today, Jay? Would you like to continue with the word of the day? You have a good word today?
I do. Before we get into that, just want to remind everybody that, like Ladine said, where you can find us. You can also find our written content at the godfather of them all, the one that started everything, at GoDefyLife.com. And you can also find our branded apparel, our Defy Life apparel, and all of our podcast gear. Each show has their own gear, so go check us out at DefyLifeGear.com as well. My word of the day, I would have to say, I wasn't prepared for this, didn't know we were doing it, but I'm going to freestyle one. I'm going to go with humbled. I'll put it there because my team, my youth football team that I'm coaching, that Lincoln plays for, always talk about them. I'm involved in coaching now, and we started off 4-0, and the kids started feeling themselves. Us coaches started feeling ourselves. The parents started feeling them. Everybody was feeling themselves. We started reading our own newspaper clippings, and we got our ass handed to us last week by 20 points almost. So it's nothing like a good ass whooping than to humble you and put you back in your place and send you back to basics. Let's get back to work. So that's where I am right now. We got a chance to make it up this week against one of the better teams in the league. So we'll try to get back on track Saturday. So I am humbled right now.
Okay. I would say I'm exhausted. I am. So yes, my word of the day is going to be exhausted. I am emotionally, physically, and mentally exhausted. So yeah, that's where I am. Every day I feel like I'm trying to get some more energy inside me. looking to do what's necessary to get it back. But yeah, I'm pretty much exhausted. So you want to jump right into these questions, Jay?
Let's do it. Can't run from it. Let's go. Let's get into it.
Okay, so the first question.
And shout out to Keita for coming up with this concept for these three episodes. So shout out to you, Keita.
Yeah, and now that he's saying that, I did not give props to both of my couples. So let me do that also, because I had to listen to both of the episodes and before we did our episode, and I am just proud of my team. Okay? This One I Shut crew is no joke. I absolutely love you people. And y'all did a phenomenal job on each one of your shows. So I just want to shout out to y'all. I'm excited to come on here and do this with y'all every time. I was a little nerve wracked when I saw the questions. I'm like, oh my God, how are we supposed to answer these? But y'all kind of made it a little easier. So I'm just grateful for y'all. And yes, Kia, good shit on choosing these topics. So Jay, where are you in your marriage?
Got a map. I don't know, this is a really good question. And I think Gina brought this up. There's so many places you can go with this question that it's hard to pinpoint which direction you want to lean in. But I would say right now, I think we're at that point I'm at that point where our kids are at a certain age and I get caught up in parenting mode too much and too often that it gets overwhelming and it overshadows my duties as a husband, and I allow it to. And I hear about that so much, and the more you hear about it, it doesn't automatically stop the effect. So it definitely takes action to stay out of that realm as much as possible, or to find some balance. I'm definitely there. I think we're at a point where I feel like there are some positives to that, where we're amazing parents and our kids are great, but I forget about me, I forget about you, and I think we forget about us sometimes. Where else? I think I'm at a comfort level where you spend so much time getting to know and continuously getting to know somebody, where we're coming up on 11 years in January, and 12 years in January, and so no, it is 11.
You're right, it is 11.
See what happens when you just accept your wife's word of correction. We know each other so well, and I'm just used to being corrected. See, but we're coming up on 11 years, and you think you know somebody, but people are constantly changing. So I'm always having to remind myself that I'm not the same person I was 11 years ago. Neither is my wife, and I think we're constantly dealing with that journey, and I know I'm constantly dealing with that journey. But I definitely think I'm in a place where I appreciate you, I love you, on so many levels that again I think I'm at a comfort level. I don't always show it. I don't always say it as much as I should. But I do. I think we're amazing together. I think you're amazing, and I'm looking forward to the next 11, then another 11, and another 11. So, I don't know. Where you at? Where Brooklyn at? Where you at, New York?
Well, I am. I hate this question. I actually don't like this question at all. This is the main question that made me say, I don't want to do this show. I don't know what made my crew think it was okay to split us up and handle this differently. All right. I don't like this. But let's see. I like the way JR answered that question. So I will say, God, we have been, Gina is right there. We have been through so many different obstacles in this marriage. And, whew, I'm grateful for a lot of the things that we have come through together. I do kind of feel like we're stuck in a different place. It's so funny because when JR and I answer questions, sometimes I feel like we're not, forget the same page. We're not even in the same book when it comes to our emotional levels of this marriage. But I think that we, because of everything that we have been through, we learned how to become friends. And that was a really big part of our marriage that I think was missing for a very long time. I think we learning to just have common courtesy and respect for each other, I think went out the door a long time ago. So when we were able to build that back and get that back, it felt really good. And then when we actually began to really choose each other, and not just be with each other just because, or because of the comfort, or the obligatory need, I think that allowed us to be different also. The last 2 years, though, I think have probably been two of the most difficult. Would you agree?
Two of the most difficult in comparison to the other 9? No, we seen worse.
See, this is what I mean. This is what I mean. How we're always on a different, emotional page. I just think that, yeah, I think the last 2 years have definitely been, for me, very eye-opening, very difficult to deal with emotionally. I think 1, because of COVID, 2, because of health concerns, 3, because of the amount of death we've experienced, how close it's still been, how close the deaths were to us, and how they changed us. And maybe because I'm just incredibly emotionally aware of what happened, and I'm connected to that more than anything in our marriage. Whereas he's not. He is more connected to the logistics. I am very proud of him though, but that's another story. That's another question we'll get to later that I can touch on. But yeah, I think we consistently go through so many different stages. And I think we're always in a different space. And to me, that's kind of scary. And I don't know if that's because of, again, like we always talk about what my idea of marriage was supposed to be in my head, and my idea of what love looked like in my head versus what I actually now experience this kind of love to be. So yeah, I think I battle a lot with our marriage internally versus what I actually voice externally. Ooh, And I do think that we're constantly going through so many different stages, and it's kind of scary sometimes. Like, y'all gotta stop making people believe that like love and marriage is something else, because this shit is hard. Right? And even on the days that you wake up and you don't like that person sleeping next to you, or that you look at in the morning, you don't like them, but you love them, and you still choose to do it. And sometimes we do operate on remote, and I think that was a major part of our marriage. Do you agree? It was a major chunk of our marriage where I think we did operate on remote, and we just got up, went to work, did the kid thing, came home. It's like, but most of our marriage, we've always been parents. JR met me when Ladine was 15 months old. So we have always been really parents together in this. There was no like honeymooner, just us kind of stage. So I don't know if we ever really got that part, but there's still so many different stages of this that we have been through. And yeah, for me, every stage we go through, for me, I experience differently than he does. I experience them like I don't want to say afraid, but sometimes while I'm in it, I'm fucking scared. And sometimes I really don't like him. And I don't know like how to continue with him sometimes, or if I want to. And I know that he feels the same way in different stages, like, do I really like this bitch? But again, he doesn't say that. So maybe in his head. But anyway, so yeah, I think so where are we today? I kind of feel like sometimes we're winging it. I do. I feel like sometimes we're winging it, and I don't know if I can completely answer, where I am, because I think there's so many different pieces to where I am versus where we are. So yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the question was where you are. So that's all you can really speak for, right? Right. But yeah, so, and I think a lot of it has to do with just, I say this all the time, just how we're wired. And you do focus more on the emotional roller coaster and the internal things that we as humans or we as beings go through. And I do tend to focus more on the tangible. That's just how we're wired. But again, I mean, of course, we'll get into this deeper later. But I think that's part of the understanding of knowing each other as people.
Yeah. So, why did you decide to get married at the time, Jay?
Man, nah. So, when we found out that you were pregnant with Lincoln, and neither one of us was sure what we wanted to do, in all honesty, with the pregnancy itself and with each other. We just weren't at that point yet. Not that you gave me an ultimatum, but you told me what you wanted, and I had to come to terms with the reality of where we were. And God bless my brother-in-law, man. I called my brother-in-law just to kind of get some insight. And because I knew if anybody was going to give it to me in unbiased terms, but with no sugar on it, it was going to be him. And I called him and I told him where we were and what was going on. And first thing he asked me was, "So what's the problem?" And I didn't really acknowledge that there was no problem. There was personal discomfort, I guess you could say the least. So there was no problem. So I had a conversation with him, and he kind of laid things out to where I had to just realize that this was part of manhood versus some problems I done created in my head. Like this is like it's a shutdown of like my life. Like nah, like this is just where you are. And at that point, I had a sort of an epiphany, and so there's one thing I got out of it was, and not that he said it, but one thing I got out of the conversation was I could. There's a lot of positivity being in a space where there's a really good woman that wants you in her life, and wants to be with you and be there for you, and at this point have a family with you. So I could have been in a whole lot worse places, ready or not. So once I came to terms with that, it was easy for me to envision a life with you, and that's why I immediately went once I got the understanding and the acceptance, and I was looking forward to it, and had a conversation with your mom and your dad, and your mom kind of took control like she tends to do at that point, but yeah. But yeah, so really just knowing that, really coming to an acceptance and not just accepting it, but holding on to it, like knowing that, that you was with me, and that I wasn't in this by myself, and I was looking forward to having a mate and a teammate in the truest sense, and not that anything was ever perfect, but that I knew you loved me. I knew that much, and I knew that whatever we had to look forward to, we were going to look forward to together. So at that point, I came to kind of embrace it, and I dove in head first. I ain't no water in the pool yet, but I dove in.
He makes everything sound so good. I can't even I don't want to come in and be the Debbie Downer because he makes everything sound better. So before he had that conversation, his brother-in-law, he was hella on the fence about Ladine, y'all. He didn't know if he wanted Ladine, y'all. So
I mean, I still am 3 days out of the week. So I mean,
this is why I can't stand him. So, shout out to Wayne Walker. And let's see. Why did I decide to get married? At the time, when I met JR, I was a single mother of one. So at this time now, I was a mother of 2 children with 2 different fathers. One who was on the fence about me, okay? And whether or not he wanted to be in my life. So for me, I was very scared at that time as a mother of 2 children with 2 different fathers, not knowing whether I knew anyone that came into my life after that. One, there was no more kids coming because I was not going to be. I just was not going to have no more children with anyone else besides him. And at that time, he didn't want any more children. So I wound up getting my tube side after Lincoln. But anywho, I decided to get married because I felt like it was the right thing to do. I decided to get married because he asked me to marry him. I decided to get married because I always wanted to be married. And I remember JR telling me that he never wanted to get married. He was afraid of marriage. We were both afraid of divorce. I know that was a conversation we definitely had. Both of our parents are divorced, and both of our sets of parents are divorced. And we both didn't want to be divorced. We didn't want our children to have to go through what we go through for holidays. And, one kid has a set of, I think, 8 grandparents. The other one, I don't even know, has 6. And it was just a lot, right, Jay? Do you remember having those conversations?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it was just a lot it was a lot to embrace. I think we both kind of felt obligated. That's how I felt at the time. Anyway, I felt obligated to do it. I felt pressured by both of our sides of the family. I don't think either one of us were actually ready to do it. To be honest, I don't think we were completely even in the understanding of what we were getting ourselves into. I think we saw what marriage was. We thought we knew what marriage was. And yeah, I think I know I decided to do it because I thought it was the right thing to do. I knew JR was a good man. I knew he came from a good family. And I knew that he was definitely a great dad. I fell in love with the father that he was. And yeah, I really think that's why at that time we decided to get married. I as a little girl, all I ever wanted was to be married. I'm a hopeless romantic. I love love. I believe in love. I think love is the most beautiful thing in the world to experience. And I wanted the fairy tale. At the time, I knew I wasn't getting the fairy tale because that's not what was happening in my life, all right? It was not a fairy tale. But I believed that I believed that marriage was the right thing to do. Period. You got anything else to add to that?
Mm-mm.
Okay. So, who is JR?
Y'all know me. And this is another thing. This is another question, and I was like, "Oh, really?" JR, I'm a man. I'm a black man, proud black man. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I am a business owner. I am the founder of Defy Life. I'm a brother. Even more of a brother than I knew I was a year ago at this time. If y'all know that story. I'm a friend. I'm a business partner. I'm a coach. I'm a realist. I'm a stoic. I'm a writer. I'm a nerd. I'm a wordsmith. All those things. I'm a human. And in that sense, I mean that, with everything I just named, I'm also the opposite at times. Although I am a stoic, I do have emotions. But I think my day-to-day, I guess, professionally, I'm a project manager, and I enjoy it. That aspect of my life, where I get to be to pay attention to details and build outcomes and witness outcomes, and I get to tell everybody what needs to be done, but everybody else has to do it. That's kind of fun sometimes. But yeah, so I'm a son. I didn't even say I'm a son, did I? No, I did not. Um, I'm an uncle. I love being an uncle. Uncle is fun shit. I love being an uncle, man. That's good stuff. But of all those titles, I gave you, I'm an athlete, a fan. Of all those titles I gave you, we kind of touched on this earlier. Like, father is the one that sticks out most to me, because like you said, like, I never wanted to be a father growing up. It was something that I was like, I don't know about that. But to be a father to two amazing young men, and to see them grow, and to emulate things that I've, instilled in them, and we've instilled in them since they were babies, and to make their own choices. It's beautiful, to kind of see these little people who grow up to be their own, and you get to say, I made that, I did that. It's a powerful title. And at this point, I wish every man could experience it. It's amazing. So, that's who I am. Yeah. Who you be?
Oh God, I feel like I don't got it all in me like you guys have it in you. So now I gotta like figure this out. Hmm. Ladine, so I guess first and foremost, I'm a daughter. I came into this world as a daughter, a sister, um, a Titi. That is one of my favorite titles on the planet is Titi Moko. Let's see. I enjoy being an aunt so much. It's ridiculous. I was an aunt before I became a mom, an aunt to so many children. Ridiculous. Before I became a mom, and I just embraced and loved it so much. I always knew I wanted to be a mom, and then I became a mom, and so I am a mom, and I am a wife, and I am a sister-in-law, and a daughter-in-law, and a niece, and wow, I'm trying to think what else. I am a joyful, trusting, responsible leader. I am humble. I am strength. I am courageous. I am, I think I'm pretty awesome in like every form, in every form possible.
You did just say you was humble. You know that, right?
I can still be humble and still be very, very aware of who I am. I think that's part of being humble. So I can understand how dope I am, and still be humbly dope, right? I think I am, not I think, excuse me. Um, yeah, I mean, I just think I know I'm one of the most beautiful people on the planet. I I know I am love in so many ways. Oh, I am a lot of great things. I'm also a procrastinator. I also um do not, what's the word I'm looking for here? I don't embrace everything that I am all of the time. And so I get in my own way. And I'm very aware of that. I think because of the level of heightened awareness I have for myself, um, I think it really just allows me to be. I love being who I am. I love being authentically Ladine in every way. Yeah, I don't even want to keep going. I think I just want to end there. I'm okay with that.
You sure?
Yeah.
All right, you and Al could just make a run for it, so you can go the longest on who you are.
Yeah, because I can totally keep going for hours on everything that I am because I am confident as fuck in who I am, and it took a long time for me to get here. I beat myself up for years, just because I was so focused on other people's opinions on who I am, and now I am so clear on who I am and so proud of who I am and grounded in Ladine that, yeah, I used to seek external validation from people, and I don't do that anymore. It's so unnecessary for me. So yeah, I'm grateful for where I am, for who I am, and yeah, we're definitely gonna end it there.
All right.
So, how has your emotional maturity played a huge factor in how you love your mate?
Kind of touched on this earlier, so this is a big one, I think, for me. Because and we've touched on this and these kind of throughout, at several episodes of When I Shut. But really just having an understanding of who you are at that time and accepting that regardless of how much I may or may not love it, you're not going to change for me. You may not even take it into account how I feel about it. And that's okay. But, and if you do, that's okay as well. But knowing that, my happiness is not attached to that. So I can accept and kind of move on. And love you the same regardless. I used to like pound my head up against the wall trying to get you to change and see things the way I see it. And, whether in your presence or not, like it would drive me crazy. Like, why can't you see it this way? And now it's, I think something I've always said that I had to kind of throw back in my own face is, even though you're any relationship, whether that's a marriage, an unmarried couple, friends, roommates, anything. Anytime you're operating on the same page for the same goal and you're a couple, you're in a relationship in its truest sense, you still got to remember that you're two individuals on the same path, but two individuals nonetheless. So I kind of had to come to kind of preach to my own choir that, she's her own person and that, we're not going to see things eye to eye all the time. Sometimes we may not even try to. And that's, it's up to me, whether I would choose to accept that. And I've learned to, and I've chosen to accept that, and I've matured enough emotionally to accept that, you're not going to change for me. Whether you change or not, it's okay. So I think that's the biggest way that emotionally I matured into, and then as far as loving you. And then also, this is still a work in progress because we're ever evolving. And so just when I think I've got, I'm educated enough to speak your language, you shift in who you are. So it's always this moving target. Just because of our, because of how we evolve. So that's always tricky to me because, again, sometimes it's based on how we're wired. I'm more, you're more, in that sense, you're more adaptive to change than I am. I'm not adaptive to change when it comes to people that way. So I'm a planner. When things, when I have things in schedule, I like them to go that way, and so it takes time for me to adjust. So being mature around that has also helped, and gaining maturity, and it's still helping because that's still, it's still a process for me. Yeah. How about you?
So, well, I mean, I'm really proud of how far he's come in just even learning to express his emotions, because it's not something that he did. It literally felt like I was dealing with a brick wall, and it was so exhausting and incredibly overwhelming just to have, even a basic simple conversation sometime, because this man didn't, everything was logical, right? Or he spoke from more of a logical perspective versus a emotional one. And I could be in his face crying, and he would have like the straight freaking poker face. And I'd be like, what the fuck is wrong with him? Like, how could you be so just detached from life and the woman that you're married to? Like, dude, you gotta get it together. It was, oh my God, it was such a problem. I think sometimes I felt like we were literally at war. Like I was at war with the human that I slept next to every night. And oh my God, I used to go to sleep crying night after night, just hoping that one day my husband would find some sort of way to express himself emotionally and show love in the way I needed to receive it. And it was like impossible. Sometimes it feels like it's impossible, but he's come a long way. So I definitely don't want to take away from that. Got to give him credit for that. But how has my emotional maturity played a huge factor on how I love you? Let's see. I have learned. It's so crazy. We are literally like, when I say we're usually in two completely different books, it's because we really are. So I feel like whereas he's learned how to, I don't want to say attach, but he's learned to connect. I've learned how to disconnect, and that's not good for somebody like me all the time. Because someone like me, learning to disconnect, I can just shut that out and off completely. It's like a turn off. It's like once it's gone and I no longer am connected to it, or detach myself from it, then I'm good, and I don't want anything else to do with it. So that's not always good for someone like myself. But it is good it's good in a relationship when you're dealing with someone that doesn't know how to completely express themselves emotionally, or even that you feel emotionally connected to. So it has definitely supported me. I think that I've learned a lot about not how to control my emotions, but how to manage them. I think people get caught up in, I need to control my emotions. I need to control. No, you don't have to control any of it. Feel it, allow it to be, but learn how to manage it. And that doesn't always, and that, those, I am emotionally impulsive. So learning how to manage the impulsiveness inside of my emotions has been a major part of, um, has been a major support in our marriage. So it's allowed me to not flip the fuck out or want to curse him the fuck out. And I've never really cursed him the fuck out, people, because it's just not the way we speak to each other, which is good for us. But I that doesn't mean I don't want to often. Okay, so, but it's really helped me not. Excuse me. It has helped me just be different in our communication, in our daily life, in the way I get to receive him differently, versus the way I used to feel attacked, the way I used to feel as a victim. I used to feel that he would always point the finger at me and I was always doing something wrong. And I was very with the he makes me feel this way language. And so being in that space didn't allow me to really understand him. It didn't really allow me to really just receive him in basic conversation. Like, the only example I think I can use is even when he pushes me to do something different, right? Or pushes me to want to be better, because I finally realized that, it's okay for him to want me to be better, right? That doesn't mean that he's not okay with who I am, but it's okay that he wants me to want more for myself. That doesn't mean that what I'm doing isn't enough. And I was very much in I'm not enough space for myself, which was my own trauma experience and my own shit. Really a lot of what, oh God, a lot of the stuff that I have experienced in this marriage emotionally, where I would point the finger at him and blame him for mostly everything, was mainly my stuff that that I hadn't healed from yet. Things that I needed to learn to manage. And to be completely honest, sharing and listening to people that even if they have good intentions, they are not in your fucking relationship. And so being mindful of the sharing that I'm doing and listening to what other people are actually giving me when their opinion does not really matter. I'm a very intuitive human being, and I think allowing those smaller pieces of those, excuse me, I don't want to say smaller, allowing those gifts that I have, and those other pieces of me, uh, excuse me, connecting to those different pieces of me have supported that also. So if my gut is telling me to speak the fuck up and say something, then I'm going to speak up and say something, versus keeping things bottled up inside because I don't know how he's going to react to it. Or there are so many things in this relationship that I wouldn't say, excuse me, so many instances in this relationship where I wouldn't say things to him because I was afraid of his reaction, whether that was if he wasn't going to react at all or if he was going to blow up and fucking lose his top, because it's either one, or it was for a long time with him. It was one or the other. He would like blow up and lose his top, and I felt like I was dealing with my father-in-law sometimes, like I was married to him instead of my husband, or he just didn't react at all. So there like was no in between, and I didn't really know how to address a situation. There were times where, you remember this day, where after I started using oils, I'd have to put certain oils on before I sat down and had a conversation with him, because those oils helped me clear my space and it helped me clear my energy, and it supported me in overreacting or and just being balanced enough to actually hear him and listen to him. I come from a family that they are drop the mic, exit stage left kind of people. So they're going to say what they got to say. That's what they got to say, and that's it. There's no more to it, and we're out, right? There was no staying for the conversation, staying for the feedback, allowing the other person to actually speak, having communication, period. It just wasn't like that for me. That wasn't my normalcy. My normalcy was flip the fuck out. I gotta say what I gotta say. I'm not just gonna say what I gotta say, but I'm gonna scream it at the top of my lungs. Whether it made the other party, whether it made him feel like shit or not, wasn't important to me. I didn't care because I felt attacked. So now I'm gonna fucking attack. And that's just what it was. And it's so funny because as I've been able to learn and grow that that's not okay, I've been able to support a lot of the women in my family to understand how not okay this behavior is. And I've been able to heal a lot of my relationships with people in my family, just realizing that that's not a good way to be. I remember in the beginning of our relationship, he's a writer, I'm a writer. We're both very I just preferred sometimes for me because I didn't know how to actually express myself with words out loud unless it was, a form of poetry or when it came to my emotions, I had to write them down on paper. And when it came to him, I had to write it down on paper because I didn't want to hear what he had to say. Again, drop mic, exit stage left. I just wanted to say what I had to say. And I remember, was it like the third or fourth letter? He tore shit up in my face. I don't even know. He tore it up, ripped it apart. He said, I'm not fucking reading this. I was like, what the fuck is happening right now, right? He was like, I'm not reading this shit. You're going to sit here and you're going to tell me what the hell that letter said, and we're going to talk about it. And I was like, wait, what? We're not doing that. And so I remember when I started, it was so great that he did this. It supported me so much. But I remember once I started, using the oils, because I would just cry. I would cry. And when I would cry, I would lose my train of thought. I wasn't able to get out what I wanted to say. And because he's a great debater and he does get emotional, so his head is always in the game, right? And then when my head would be completely out of the game because I got so emotional about it, I would forget my points and what I wanted to say because I just couldn't handle a fucking conversation. And I think when you come to that realization, you feel weak. You feel like a fucking dun-dun, right? Like, what the hell is wrong with me? Why can't I handle a conversation? I can handle this shit. All the shit I've handled in my life, and I can't handle a conversation with this grown-ass man. I can handle this conversation. I got this. So I think once I told myself, like, yo, what are you doing? You're not handling this right. And him being honest and letting me know, like, yo, you cannot just break down and shut down every time. The going gets tough and the conversation gets difficult, and you don't just get to scream or cry your way out of it. Oh, and that was another piece that I was just like, first of all, don't tell me I'm crying my way out of it because I get emotional and I'm connected and you're not, buddy. But yeah.
And I don't want it to seem as if I'm saying or I was saying there's something wrong with crying. Especially, but if it gets to a point where all you're doing is crying and you can't get the words out, you may want to rethink where you are in the conversation. But like, I don't want anybody to think that like I'm that dude that's telling my sons, "What you crying for? Ain't no need to." No, that's not it. But you got to do more than cry. That's what I'm trying to say.
So yeah, it was a lot, but my oils definitely helped me, and so I would come and I would sit down and we would talk, and then it would get better, right? With every conversation, Would you agree?
I do.
Yeah. So it got better. And there are still some times where, I mean, look, I'm a stubborn bitch. I'm a fucking Scorpio. If there are things that I don't want to talk about, I don't want to talk about them right now. But I will come back and revisit them, which is some things that I also didn't do. And so he would be on me about that. And so, when it came to our communication, like, all right, bitch, you had a minute, but like it's been a week and we didn't revisit the conversation. And so, for me to have anybody in my life on me about what I'm not doing always made me feel as if I wasn't enough. And there I go with it, made me feel, because that's the language that you use when you're in that space. So I always felt as if I wasn't enough when someone would address me with what it was that I wasn't doing. And so that was always a trigger for me. And so then I definitely didn't even want to have the fucking conversation after that. But yeah, as I grew and I matured emotionally, I'd be like, all right, you know what, you're right. I need to sit down and have that conversation, to the point where now if I talk about something or I don't want to talk about something in that moment, and because I might need a minute to get my thoughts together. There were times where he'd be like, well, then you need to bring a fucking pen and paper to this conversation if you forget the shit you're going to say. And I was like, genius. And so there were times, right, babe? I'd bring the pen and paper to the conversation, and I'd have to, so while he was in the middle of a thought, because he's always saying I'm hijacking his conversation. Yeah, I heard that shit too on this show. I know you did. And so he would always say I would hijack his conversation, which I did. So I would be in the middle, we'd be in the middle of a conversation, he'd be saying something, and I'd have to write it down. So there were so many different levels to this emotional maturity that have played a huge factor in this relationship, because I think we have both been through an emotional roller coaster. I think not just I think, I'm clear. We've done a lot of work together. We've taken classes together that supported us a lot with our emotional maturity. We've done a lot of trauma healing together, and individually. But while we were in this relationship is when most of the trauma healing began, right?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So I think that we have and we support each other through that emotional trauma and healing. And I know when it's time for me to shut the fuck up now. I know when it's time for me to pipe down, back up, either say something. I also know when it's time for me to address something, because my husband the stuff will show back up, and there's some things that he's not going to talk about unless I bring it up and I address it, and vice versa. So I think that, I think it's played a huge factor in the way we love each other. Absolutely. Because I don't think that if we did not mature emotionally, I don't think we'd be together.
Hell no.
I don't think so at all. And I think that it's played a huge role in the way we love each other, because I think there was a point where we began to really hate each other. That thin line between love and hate is very real. And it's like, I feel like there was a point where we loved to hate each other. So yeah, it's played a huge role. Absolutely.
Word. We got one more question.
Oh, she don't have anything to address to that? Anything to add to that?
No. You went in for like 15 minutes on that one.
I know.
What else do I should have brought me a pen and pad to that part of the conversation.
Take your own advice, sir.
But nah, I can't disagree with any of it, especially the parts that are your thoughts or your feelings. But yeah, I think emotional maturity has probably been the biggest part of our growth, from my perspective. And yeah. All right. Last question. What we got?
So what is the one question you're dying to ask your wife?
You want to go first on this? No? Okay, I'll go first. This reminds me of like you getting me to go first on all the questions, like when we're going out to eat. Like you're like, what you gonna get? I'm like, what?
Because
That's
I want to order what you order.
Oh boy! All right. I don't know if there's anything I've been dying to ask you. Like, because everything I want to ask you, I ask you.
That's how I felt.
But okay, I guess I'll ask this because it's something that you know that perplexes me, but it still happens. So, all right. So I think anybody that knows my wife knows that if they have a general conversation with her, I think you're probably gonna say I'm sorry maybe 3-4 times. Like if you're gonna apologize just out of habit for stuff that doesn't want an apology. But especially with me, when there are things that actually warrant an apology, why is it so hard for you to say I'm sorry?
I can't stand this because I've been seeing this on like memes on social media more and more lately about women that don't. I swear to God, and he says this to me all the time. And why do you say that? Like I know how to say I was wrong, and I'm sorry. You got to say that you think I don't know how to say I was wrong. Oh my God!
All right.
This is the times where I wish like we recorded. You guys could see us like if we recorded video because you gotta see his face. Good, Jack. Good.
All right. So are you saying that you do know how to say you're sorry? Because I recall every time that that you done really done some shit that I'm like, okay, yeah, at least can I get an apology? Like I have to stop you and say, you done defended yourself for 10 minutes, and not once have you said, you know what, I'm sorry.
Because I say I'm sorry so much, you have said you don't want the I'm sorry. So I don't fucking say I'm sorry anymore. And I don't give you the apology because you said you don't want an apology unless you see the changed behavior. That's what you said. That came out of your mouth.
That's happened too. There's but two things to that. Why not the change in behavior? And two, of course I don't want the apology if I gotta ask for it.
Oh, this is good. So, I don't know if I can answer that. Because I don't know. I don't mean to not.
I mean, I don't know is an answer too.
I don't know. I don't know if I know why, or if it is just a part of me being stubborn. I mean, I just feel like if I don't apologize, you want me to give you some bootleg ass apology? Like, I don't want to give you no bootleg ass apology. If I don't mean the apology, then I'm not trying to give it because you felt you needed it.
Okay, so this no, I like this, right? So then that leads to this. So why do I get an apology for when I don't know, like stuff that doesn't matter at all? Like if I get an apology for that's so trivial, I can't even remember the stuff you apologize for half the time now. But if it's something that I'm like coming to you about and I'm angry or I'm hurt and I think warrants a real conversation, you don't think any of those warrant an apology?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I don't know what I'm saying right now. We're going to leave it with the answer to that question is I don't know, and I will look to do better, sir. That's it.
Okay, and it's just a question, so that's cool. I don't know is an answer.
Okay.
All right. Same question to you. What's the question you've been dying to ask me?
So again, there's nothing that like I'm dying to ask you that I wouldn't ask you normally. But I really wonder if you have an answer to this question. And for entertainment purposes, for podcast entertainment listener purposes, JR, here's my question. Are you ready?
With bated breath.
Why do you not choose to help with chores around the house more?
That's a good one. And I'll explain it to you. For one, first and foremost, I got two highly capable teenage boys who don't do their own chores and damn sure don't do more. So they don't carry their weight. Secondly, we've talked about this before, you and I have. So there's this dynamic in our household that unless it becomes a problem, I'm always the last to know things, right? I'm always the last to know things going on with the kids in school. I'm always the last to know stories they come home with. I'm always the last to know things, unless it involves a payment. If there's something that needs to be paid for, they come through the door with that shit. Daddy, I need this. Daddy, I need that. Babe, the kids need this. Babe, the kids need that. Babe, my car's doing this. Daddy, they got this at school. But if it doesn't involve payment, I don't know anything until it's the third conversation, and I just happen to walk by the room, and I'm like, oh, when did this happen? So my thing is, if you're only going to include me on payment issues and transactions, the free shit y'all can handle.
So you don't think cleaning up after yourself is important because you pay for shit?
That's the role I've been given.
No.
That's the role you choose.
You asked me my answer to this question. Okay. The role that I have been given and the role I've been assigned to on this team, when it's convenient for y'all, is that I pay for shit. Now, that don't include the times when, you know, I come in because I don't say it. Don't happen, I'm sure, as often, but because I don't keep score. But that don't include when I pick up after y'all. That don't include when, you know, I go in your car the day after I just detailed it, and there's straw wrappers over the floor, or there's, you know, receipts all over it like that. I don't say nothing.
That's not the same.
It may not be the same. May not be. I don't know. But I'm giving you my answer. But you asked me why, and why I stopped doing chores. That's because I'm just the dude that pay for shit.
So
that's the excuse for you not cleaning up after yourself. Okay. And we can't hear you. We can't hear you.
If you want me to do more picking up after myself, that's cool. But I would ask y'all to do better with including me on things that don't involve transactions. And not making it like this. Not only including me when you need something out of my pocket. Because y'all do that. Do you agree?
I don't agree.
Oh, okay. But I don't agree. I should pick things up more. Sorry. See how that works? I'll pick things up more. I'll pick things up more. But y'all do that just to let you know. Okay. Y'all get me all the time with that.
So, beautiful people. I think we have concluded this lovely show. Would you agree, Tommy?
We have. another huge shout out to Keita and Thomas and Al and Gina. Y'all did your thing. So proud of each of those other two couples. Man, I love this show and I love the people involved with it. We were glad to kind of bring up the rear in this thing. And again, Keita, excellent idea. But yeah, this has been fun.
Yeah, this was good. So I guess that would wrap things up for this evening. Shout out to our beautiful crew. And again, shout out to our listeners. I hope y'all got a little bit more. I think we give a lot of us all the time. I'm a talker, so, and JR definitely gives more on this show. And I'm proud of him for that too, because I was a little nervous coming onto the show. Like, I don't know what this is going to look like. Because this man, I just didn't think that he was going to be honest with his emotions or with his feelings or with any of it. So I'm very proud of JR and how far he's kind of expressing a lot of different things on his show. He's also shown me a bunch of different ways and things that I might not like. I gotta be honest. But yeah, for the most part, I think this show is pretty dope. We love y'all. Thank you for listening this evening. And yeah, we'll see y'all next week with our crew. Back to the One Eye Shut crew. Have a good night, y'all.
Peace.